Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am here today with Jim Reilly with Therapy Systems, and we are doing a broadcast for our Stronger Together conversations at Lifespan Network, which really is a way for us to bring members to each other in a virtual space and hear about the benefits of Lifespan membership, as well as kind of just have a chance to pick your brains a little bit and hear about, industry related issues, questions, topics, things like that. So thanks for being here, Jim.
It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, I guess just to get us started, do you mind telling us a little bit about therapy systems, your role within it, and kind of a little bit more about what your company does?
Sure. So Therapy Systems was actually started about, I want to say 27 or 28 years ago by two brothers, one of which retired. The second one, about 10 years later, decided he was time for him to retire with his wife. And that's when I took it over, which was about 10 years ago now. Uh, so I've been the owner, the principal owner, actually the only owner of it for 10 years. Our our purpose is we rent specific bariatric we rent medical equipment, bariatric medical equipment to nursing homes throughout the state of Maryland. We service literally from east to west, north to south, the entire state. Um, and the equipment we rent is bariatric equipment mostly. So what typically will happen in a facility is they'll get a new patient input that discharged from the hospital, not really ready to go home. If they're a bariatric patient, which is typically significantly overweight, they don't always have that kind of equipment or don't have excess of it, and so they call us when they have that extra need. And that's probably our principal rental products are, hospital beds, support surface mattresses, commodes, wheelchairs, patient lifts, all for bariatric patients. In addition to that, we rent negative pressure wound pumps, which is a very unique field in itself. And most facilities don't have them on hand. They don't have a lot of patients that need them. So that's it in a nutshell. So they call us hopefully in the morning, and we will have it there the same day. And even if they call in the afternoon, we'll still have it there the same day.
Awesome. Yeah, I know Therapy Systems is super popular with a lot of our members. And being in Western Maryland, I know your counterpart Joe comes to a lot of our meetups and gets to talk with some of our clientele all across the state. So definitely very involved. One of our ambassadors, so we say, Jim. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about how you first got involved with Lifespan, and kind of what made you decide to become a member.
So lifespan was sort of a no-brainer for me. Um, like most companies, from a business perspective, Lifespan has as its members virtually all of our customers or potential customers. So that's just natural that we want to support it just because Lifespan gives us access to those customers, an easy way to reach out to them and be involved in the for more of a personal reason, I have a history of working with trade associations, for or with trade associations. So I understand inherently their value at, and they all have a different purpose, but generally lobbying, information sharing, education amongst a unique audience. In this case, it's senior care across this full spectrum of senior care, not just nursing homes, which is my particular niche area. So on one hand, it just made perfect sense to me. That's who we support. I believe in the good things that associations do. And as I looked at Lifespan, you guys are absolutely the leader in the field. And if something's going to happen, it's going to be because Lifespan made it happen. So it was sort of a no-brainer.
Awesome. We love to hear that. And I think something that speaks to just overall success. I know you are extremely active in a lot of our events. You're a member of our board and soon to be chair of our board. So, can you talk a little bit about how partnering with Lifespan has helped you connect with and support providers?
Mhm.
Maybe speak to a specific story or instance where you feel you've made an impact with one of our other fellow member orgs.
Sure. Well, I mean, being involved is easy. That's, it comes back to what I said earlier. You can't have an impact, without being involved. We can't get to know our potential customers or our current, or, stay in regular contact with our regular customers without being involved. So, for instance, the Ocean City show, your big convention for the year, everybody that's anybody in this business is there. It just makes perfect sense for us to be there. It's a place where can connect with all of our customers, and we can show our support. And we've done everything from sponsoring unique events, speakers, the reception. I'm trying to think some of the other unique things. I think last year there was a big luau, and that was the theme for the final day of the exhibit hall. We had about 50 cheap plastic leis left over. We just donated them and they went to the luau, and so that's the simple answer to your question. Is there a specific event? I don't know if there's one I would say, this just stands out in my mind, as, a unique thing that we hooked up with, or helped in some special way one customer over another. Um, I know that, we really enjoy Taste of Senior Living as one example. Uh, and that's honestly not one of the programs that is all that great for us, but it's a wonderful event. And so we're always there, and we always get a chance to see people that we wouldn't normally see, that aren't, it might be part of our customer base, but aren't the ones the people in the system that we necessarily need to talk to. But we know that all of that, it all accumulates up. It all helps build the resources of Lifespan. And my role on the board is, on the products and services board. I mean, that just sort of, again, makes sort of common sense. Products and services is there to help put together specialized programs that benefit the members at a lower price point, or better service, or any number of reasons, and also put some money back in the pocket of Lifespan. And so that, as a provider into the network, that makes perfect sense. And I think, and that particular board has done a good job, particularly in the last several years, of putting together a package of, virtually any service that a provider member that's, in any of the various senior care sectors, um, any of their vendors they use, there's probably an LPS board event or service that matches up with that. Everything from insurance to HR and staffing issues, to employee benefits, um, equipment and supply purchases. I'm drawing a blank for all of them, but it's a very long list.
There's 10. I wouldn't expect you to name them all.
I should be able to name them all. I am on the board, but no, I can't.
Well, I think it's really important that you mentioned, kind of it's not working with one provider over the other that stands out in your brain. It's more so just the cumulative kind of total of all of your efforts. And I think you guys at Therapy Systems are heavily involved in everything that we do, from, lays at the luau to hosting a wine table at Taste of Senior Living. And just like you said, it may not be the one that, brings the biggest, return of customers to your business, but it's something that kind of re-emphasizes your why, as you're kind of able to interact with other folks in the industry. And of course, at Taste of Senior Living, taste a bunch of really amazing food. So, that kind of leads me into my next question. And I think it's something that all of us in the industry have to talk about and think about pretty regularly. But I'm curious to hear what motivates you to stay in this work, and what kind of keeps you optimistic about the future of aging, especially in our state.
Um, I think it is very just gratifying when you see, I mean, in our business, we're seeing the patients that are coming through the system, not necessarily staying long term. To see somebody who, you know, comes out of the hospital recovers from whatever their particular ailment or injury might have been, and is able to graduate and move on successfully. And often that has something to do with the equipment that we've rented. Um, and then even beyond our own business aspect of it, the entire industry, if you will, just it does good things for lots of good people. When you walk into these homes, and you just see a lot of really good people who've had productive, useful lives and can tell you story after story about every manner of thing. It's just very gratifying, just to see how much is put back or given back to all those residents. So, and coming back to some of the other things we've talked about before, we don't necessarily view our role in participating in the association as we're not in sales mode all the time. It's not always about how many customers do we get out of that. I think the convention, obviously, that's very specific about trying to make new connections. But we don't go to events thinking we're going to sign up a lot of customers. We go to events to be around, to be supportive, and have that belief that if you do the right things, do good things, somewhere down the line, that will pay you back.
That's great. I think the networking opportunities that we do provide are meant to be fun, and it's great to hear, your feedback and saying, that's exactly it. You may not make a sale per se at that event, but you're going to make a connection that's going to down the road come to fruition for you. And um, especially at the annual conference, I mean, we have about over 700 plus folks there. We have a packed exhibit hall with over 100 exhibit booths. And so it's just a great way to meet people. And we joke all the time that once you're in the industry, you really don't ever leave. So the connections you make are long lasting.
It's funny you say it, sir. When I took over the business, the previous owners they didn't advertise a lot. They didn't participate in the annual conventions. They didn't participate in things. They just knocked on doors and tried to kind of sold the old-fashioned way. Keep knocking on enough doors, people will say yes. And we kind of retook that task and turned it around and said, well, we're going to just go and participate and be around at all these key events, support the organization. And just by doing that, the sales will then, sort of come to us almost. And that, it's just been such a better relationship to actually just want to be involved and want to be helpful.
And kind of speaking to wanting to be involved and wanting to be helpful, we've mentioned, you're a board member, you're going to be a chair of our board. Can you talk a little bit about what your hopes are, what your goals are, coming into that leadership position? As we always encourage members, join a committee, join a board, try to make your mark on the association.
It's been interesting. I joined the LPS board 3 or 4 years ago. And last year, I was approached about becoming the chair-elect. And when I joined the board, I thought this will just be easy to be seen and help. I'll come to some meetings, bring some intellect to the game and try and do the right things. Then I got asked to be chair-elect, which is fortunately a 2-year span before you're actually chair. And this coming year is when I'll move into the chair position. And all of a sudden, my brain has kicked into what's the mark I'm going to be trying to make? What are the goals and aspirations I have for the LPS board and as chair of that for the coming 2 years, 27 and 28? And it's actually challenging to set, a new bar because the previous chairs have done a nice job of putting things together. I do think that there's some room to grow in the offerings that we have and starting to look at where the holes or the gaps, what are the services that the organizations are reaching out to purchase that we aren't filling, and how do we fill those gaps with them? And that's really where I'm going to go with the new board as we come into the coming years. Um, the bigger board, the top board lifespan, as I'm an ex officio on that by default. And that I just try to make sure I bring some brain power to the game. Those are the providers. They know what they need. I'm just in a support role there.
But a very important support role because, like you said, we're all kind of collaborating and we're all in this together. And if it weren't for, the successes of our business associates and the relationships LPS, Lifespan Products and Services, is able to make connections with providers, it's all about finding ways to do things better, more efficient, more, emphasis on quality, all of that combined. So, I
I
think.
know, I know you mentioned before, what do I see as the future? I know the challenge with the senior care sector is largely going to drive increasing number. All of us, particularly me, I fall in the tail end of the baby boomer category. There's just an excessive number of people moving into that category of care or of their life, and there's not good support. The economics are very challenging. And so there's a lot of downward pressure on costs and other factors. Uh, and that's going to be the challenge and the opportunity. I think that's where you mentioned, drawing efficiencies and finding ways to make all this work better and make people's lives even better in those senior years. Uh, that's where the real opportunity is, and that's where I think I'd like to say when we're all going to walk away and be proud that we made that happen. So
I know that was a big focus for all of our boards over the past year, 2 years, kind of specifically defining the mission, the vision, who we are as an association, and those exact characteristics and sentiments kept coming out of that conversation, right?
mm,
Leadership, advocacy, education, networking, those are all things that we're able to provide, but we're all working for one kind of collaborative, collective goal. And at the end of the day, it's because all of us are aging. And, we want the future to be better for our loved ones. But at the end of the day, we want it to be better for ourselves.
yeah, yep,
Well, I just have one more question to wrap up the conversation today. So I'm
okay.
curious to hear from you. What is one thing you would say, or one piece of advice to a company or a provider who's thinking about joining Lifespan, an association, and they're kind of on the fence? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say it's lifespan specifically. My experience is it's an extremely effective organization. It's something that you want to be a part of, you want to be supportive of. At the end of the day, even if you just, are proverbial checkbook member and barely participate in anything, you will get it back in information. You'll get all your money back in information. If you, but you get out of it what you put into it. The reward or the return on that investment of your dues will go up exponentially by getting involved and getting if you're a larger, getting your people involved. Uh, that's where the real benefit comes back. Uh,
Awesome, Jim. Well, we can't thank you enough for everything that you do for us and that Therapy Systems does for Lifespan. So, looking forward to many, many more years of working with you all.
okay. Well, thank you very much, Sierra. And, likewise, every day is a good day when I'm involved in Lifespan.